Okay, lie on your back. Have your legs a little bit spread and bring your arms beyond your head in such a way that they can rest on the floor moderately comfortably. So if they don't go directly up, just find a place where your elbows can still find the support of the ground. Straightish. Just once or twice, would you lift your right arm and put it down? Lift your left arm and just compare the difference in sensation. Let that go. Lift your right leg. Notice the sensation of doing that, and then compare that with the sensation of lifting your left leg. Pause. Now, as you come to lifting your right leg, can you make it the smallest movement possible? And as your heel comes away from the floor, could you have the idea that your heel is comprised, well, most of you got socks on, so there's a sock, there's a layer of skin, there's a meaty bit, and eventually the bone. Can you lift your leg in such a way that you feel the expansion of the meaty bit until the skin has to follow and then the sock, so that you lift your foot only enough to slide a piece of paper out and put it down again. As your foot comes back to the floor, notice the sensation of your sock touching your skin, coming into the sock, the squishing of the meaty bit and the resting of the bone. Coordinate the lifting of your leg with exhaling. So take a breath, fill your chest, and then as the air starts to come out, let your foot lighten away from the floor and come down again. And then take another breath. Okay, leave it. Let everything rest. And just take a moment to sense the difference between your left leg and your right leg. And then in the same style of only lifting the smallest amount you can, begin to lift your right arm away from the floor. Yep, so your arms are as far beyond your head as is comfortable for them to rest. And you might begin to think that the paper is under your elbow. So let your elbow lift away from the floor a little bit and come down. Just growing the movement slightly so that eventually your wrist follows. And finally, the back of your hand would just break contact with the floor. Once again, coordinate that with your breathing. So take a breath, fill your lungs. As the air's coming out, just lift and lower your hand. And then take another breath. Pause and compare the sensations in your two arms. And then very gently bring your arms back down to your side again. Roll over onto your tummy. Again, have your legs a little spread and your arms long beyond your head. This time the sheet of paper is under your right knee. So begin to lift your leg just enough, right leg, just enough that someone could slide the paper out from under your knee. Make each movement separate and let it begin to coordinate with your breathing so that you'll take the breath and fill your lungs. And as the air is coming out, your leg will lighten away from the ground and come back down again. Leave it, rest. Would you now imagine that the piece of paper is under your right hand, under the palm of your hand? And begin to lift your right arm in this position, just enough for the paper to slide out. Allow your arm to lengthen a little bit as you lift. And coordinate the movement with exhaling. Rest for a moment. This time, your arm and your leg will lift simultaneously. Coordinate it with your breathing so that you'll take a breath, and then as the air is coming out, your arm and your leg lighten away from the floor. Keep your breathing smooth and soft. And spread your attention all the way down that right side of you to include your hand lifting, your breathing, your leg lifting. Let your hand and your foot get a little further away from each other as they lift. And then leave it, roll onto your back and rest there. Once again, bring your hands beyond your head. Still playing with the right arm and the right leg. Lift them simultaneously, just enough for those pieces of paper to slip out. In a timing that coincides with breathing out. Open your awareness to include the whole of your right arm, your breath, your right leg. And have the intention that they move together. And leave it. Bring your arms down gently. Take a moment to sense the differences between your two arms, your two legs. Sense the difference in the two sides of your face, your eyes. Imagine what it would be like to be standing at the moment. And then just once or twice, lift your right leg a little bit, put it down. Lift your left leg and put it down. Bring your arms up. Lift your right arm and compare it with lifting your left arm. Just a couple of movements. And then bring your arms down again. And in a moment, I'll ask you to stand up and just sense yourself in standing and briefly in walking. But I think at this point we'll take, or after you've done that, we'll take the short morning break, have your cup of tea. And then when we come back, I'll ask you to find a partner. One of you will lie down and teach yourself that lesson on the other side. The one who's not doing the lesson will ask exploratory questions. So you don't need to give any instructions because it's a pretty simple lesson. Your partner will be able to remember the instructions. You will be free to find ways to construct questions that allow them to notice interesting things or to discover something about themselves that perhaps they're not aware of at the moment. Okay? It's relating to what you're seeing as they do the lesson. You can't help but do that, can you? So just take a moment to come up, sense yourself in standing. Find your balance and orientation so that you can safely drink a cup of tea. And you can rest your attention and experience of this lesson in such a way that you can come back and pick it up shortly.